And we're live. Come on in, folks. It's time for Comics by Night. It's night where I am. It's early morning where Russ and Glenn are, and Whiskey's in Toronto. So you've got Canadian, you've got Michiganian, you've got British this morning. So
English.
Sorry,
English, please.
I'll go. I'll be happy with Celt.
Hey, excuse me with the.
Although I'm sure there's a bit of Viking in there as well.
Well, I sort of traced my family name a while back, and I came over with William the Conqueror 1,000 years ago. So
you're bloody French.
Well, no, I'm actually Dutch.
Oh yeah,
I go all I go
up
through Belgium into Holland, or Netherlands, and so. But I think by now I'm English.
Like North Sea Empire, right? That's what we're going with here. North Sea Empire.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. I'm all good with empires.
I was always told I was just a mutt.
I didn't say I wasn't. I'm just saying
our family comes from everywhere.
So. Yeah,
that's the way it should be.
My family's directly related to the kings of Saxony, Denmark, and then they go over from there to the colonies later on.
Brilliant. Post all you want.
That's the best part of the world.
Okay, here's the opening.
What was that? This is not a charade. We need total concentration. Now, once again, this time, with theory.
That's right, folks. Total concentration. I got two books here. Both of them are looking at Watchmen. The Watching the Watchmen by Dave Gibbons. That has a lot of the prep work that he did for the series, including a little bit of script and a lot of great stuff. And the Watchmen Annotated, that has the Watchmen in black and white, the entire series. Wow. So I've also got the individual books. I've got a collection of portfolios. There's all sorts of stuff to go through here. Where do we want to start?
I think we should start with the prep, but I'm desperate to get into that annotated, so maybe not.
Yeah.
I mean, I own the Gibbons one, so I know what's in there, and it's just.
I own that. Yeah, I've got that one. Yeah.
And this is the one that you've got.
Yeah.
No, I've got the one that you've just taken away.
Oh,
plus I've got the noir, which is the larger version in black and white.
Oh,
that's gorgeous. That's
let's work backwards then. Let's have a look at this one.
But so this has got all the annotations from editorial and what have you in it.
It's got notes.
Look at that. It's worth it just for that.
It's a nice square book. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah.
Forward by Dave Gibbons from 2017, which I would imagine is when this book was printed.
Wow.
2000. Looking. I'll be switching my glasses back and forth because the type is this size pretty much all the way through.
So I'll be squinting.
Oh, I need the. It's not just pictures, though. That's the thing.
That illustration there is really Eisner, isn't it? Got a lot of Eisner in it.
Yeah.
You know, on the rooftops of New York, like that.
Magnifying glass here. All right. Beautiful crosshatch work, though.
Yeah. Great perspective.
Even all the way back in the far right in the building, you can see the amount of effort they throw in. They don't skip, eh?
Yeah. Even the ladder, tops of the ladders are in perspective as well, aren't they? Fantastic.
Yeah. One of the cool things about this entire work is that it's so detailed and there's so much to it. A lot of nuance.
So I just jump in here. I'm now streaming to my channel as well.
That's fine.
So if anybody's watching over at that channel, This is all part of the Indie Comics Network. This is Comics by Night, and we're looking at Watchmen. So share it out, whether you're looking at on this channel, on Randy's channel, or over the Indie Comics Network channel.
Oh, and that reminds me, I need to go over to Facebook.
And with this, there are no earthquakes going on. This is just Randy adjusting.
Yeah, it's just me making. I'll be adjusting periodically as we go along. Yeah, my tripod is shaky. Let me change this around. I am set to private again, which disgusts me. I wish Facebook would be able to fix this. There, now we are public. Come on in, folks. Come on in. If you're out there looking, welcome to join us.
Quick shout out to Nita for letting me come in on this and having this stream to my channel as well. And also a shout out to C. Hope you're getting better, mate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
One last earthquake, and I swear I'll leave it as alone as possible.
That's it.
Woo, woo, woo,
That's
woo.
it. That's it.
good,
Perfect.
That's it. Don't touch it. Leave it there.
No, but no.
Tighten up the lighting here. That should work.
That's
Perfect.
perfect, mate. Perfect.
Wow, look at this.
Introduction. Acknowledgements. A note for formatting.
What did it say about the formatting? We're allowed to go over that?
Yeah. Hang on just a second. I got to swap my glasses out. Got a pair for computers, and I got a pair for reading. And then the type on this is so small. I have a magnifying glass, and I'm not afraid to use it.
I have a pair for reading. I have a pair for catching criminals.
Yeah, exactly. As it says, volumes annotations are numbered according to the issue number, page number, and panel number in reference to the original periodicals. The panel numbering follows a narrative flow on the page, generally from left to right, from top to bottom. For example, the third panel on page 11 of issue number 7 will be designated 7.11.3. In addition, the supplementary pages at the end of each issue, which do not use panels, are designated with the issue number, the abbreviation SUP for supplement, and the page count numbered from within the supplementary section. So the third page of the supplementary material of issue 4 would be identified as 4 SUP3.
It's interesting that they throw that into the annotation as well.
Well, they treat this as, seriously as possible. It says an important work. If you've never read Watchmen before, or have seen the movie, this is pretty landmark as far as comics are. Quite a touchstone series.
This is 86, right?
I believe you're right.
That would, I think, some people consider that the official end of the Bronze Age.
Yeah.
And the start of the Tin Age.
Yeah.
Only the Dark Ages since then. isn't
Yeah.
it?
That's
Pretty
right,
much. Yeah. Well, I don't think this, as far as immediate influence, I don't think this was as heavy as Dark Knight was. Miller's Dark Knight, I think, really turned the
When
corner.
did Dark Knight hit? Was that 88?
It was about the same time.
About,
Was it?
about 86, I think. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Around the same time. Yeah.
I think that had a lot harder impact, but this work is, it's the one that gets the annotated version. It's the one that has the all of the notations about it because it's such a work of genius.
Do you know what? Sorry,
Go on.
when Watchmen came out, I read the first one, and then for some reason I can't remember why, and to my constant amazement, I bought it, but I didn't read it until I had all 12.
Wow.
And I went on holiday for a week on a barge on the canals, and every night would just read it all the way through. Well, not all the way through, but just read it on the boat. And it took me a week to get through it all, because you stop in looking at artwork and stuff like that.
I think because I think this gets a bad rep for destroying current superheroes or the model at the time. I
Yeah.
think if this had been on its own without the Dark Knight and without Killing Joke, I don't know that it would have done. I don't know that we'd have seen the same transformation.
Well, I can tell you the sales on the book weren't phenomenal, not compared to Dark Knight.
Yeah,
And it really didn't make a mark, I don't think, until a couple of years later.
but also the story itself. It's heavy. You know, it's got heavy elements to it, but I don't know. It's still superhero. Do you know what I mean? It's still It doesn't destroy the genre in the way that a lot of people think it does.
No.
You know,
I think that was Dark Knight and Killing Joke more than this.
Yeah,
a lot
just
more than this.
Make it very dark and let's just walk away.
Yeah.
But no.
I think Killing Joke was just a cash-in, though, wasn't it? Because didn't Alan Moore say that was just supposed to be a backstory and an issue?
It's supposed to be an Elseworlds story, and they put it in, and then they used the injury to what's it, Barbara, and created a character out of it. It's I
think to me the best part of Killing Joke, I know we're not talking about that, but the best part of Killing Joke is the artwork by Bolland.
Oh, it's the artwork.
And when they put it in that deluxe edition rather than the back of a pulp issue,
absolutely.
We already knew what Bolland could do, but when we saw that, it was just
one of the books. One of the books that I have that I wanted to show on here at some point is that book, but in black and white.
Yeah,
I've got a noir version of it,
right?
And it's stunning. Just like Bolland's artwork is just incredible.
And noir version of Killing Joke.
Yeah. It's just in black and white.
Do you guys think that the Tick was from a direct sort of like opposition to that? Because like a lot of the stuff coming out, you got Killing Joke popular. I mean, I guess they would have planned the Tick ahead of time. That was the 86 too, right?
Yeah, I think that was done independent of this. I really do. And Edlund was just running on his own, very much like Don Simpson's Megaton Man. I think Megaton Man had more of an influence on the Tick than probably Watchmen did.
Just getting back to this Watchmen thing, one of the most innovative things I think was the chapter headers down the side, and the way that the cover was the first panel of the story.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not sure that's ever been done before, but I just think of all the books we've just mentioned, I would always go for this one.
Yeah.
If I had to, Desert Island book of those 3 or 4, I would always choose this one.
Well, this is a work that I haven't read it, I would say, within the last 2 or 3 years, but I used to read it almost once a year and still pull stuff out of it.
And if sorry, Randy, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I always mention the lettering. Well, this lettering is superb, and it's by Dave Gibbons as well, as we all know. But apparently, I don't think the DC were worried. But with Dave Gibbons being able to letter as well as this, he didn't need to send the artwork to and fro all the time to be lettered.
Yeah,
he could send the stats of the pencils, get them okayed and all that kind of thing, and then do the lettering, and then get that okayed, and then ink. And he didn't have to release the artwork, which I think is a brilliant thing. And I just think it's great that he can do really good lettering as well. And like I say to people, if you try and at least learn how to do all the elements that we need to create comic books, get your brush and do your inking, and get your ball pen and do the lettering, get your Ames guide on it, practice, because you might get an extra wage packet by doing the lettering.
Yeah. Let's go. Says the cover first story panel of issue 1 establishes a pattern that is repeated throughout the series. The image shown by the cover is revealed to be a close-up view of a portion of the first panel's art. And with this transition, it becomes a portal from the real world to the fictional world. This unique narrative device was a clear signal to comics fans at the time that the series was not going to follow the usual rules of superhero comics. Reinforcing that impression were several other departures from the established comic book traditions. The Watchmen title treatment was placed vertically up the left side, like we were saying, of the cover, instead of horizontal across the top. It had been anticipated that the issues would be sold only in comic book specialty shops or stores, which often displayed books on the shelves in an overlapping pattern rather than a vertical stack. None of the characters on the issues appear on the cover's artwork, and the scenes depicted on the covers are not images of action designed to entice the reader. This issue's cover image also serves as the debut of what would become the central visual theme of the series, taking the form of motif repeated numerous times throughout its 12 issues. The smiley face button with the drop of blood on it, a symbol of vengeance degraded, or innocence, a symbol of innocence degraded. Moore explains in an interview with George Corey, reprinted in the Extraordinary Works of Alan Moore, quote, "It wasn't until further on in the series that we actually started to understand the history of the smiley badge and why it made such an effective image with that little blood splash over it. Apparently, from what we heard, there were some tests that were done upon babies. If you lean over a baby's cot and smile, the baby will respond. If you hold a photograph of you smiling over the baby's cot, the baby will smile back. If you hold a drawing of a smiling cover, or of you smiling over the baby's cot, the baby will smile back. It doesn't even have to be a very detailed drawing. They try to amplify or simplifying it as much as possible, and they found out that a yellow circle with black dots for eyes, and a black smile drawn on in the simplest design, that will elicit a response from the newborn baby. In some ways, you could say that image is the ultimate scientifically tested image of innocence. Wow. I think it came out during the 60s. So try putting that splash of blood over the eye. Yeah, it's sort of saying the age of innocence is over. If you like, the good times are over. That is not the world we're living in now. Wake up and smell the brimstone. Superheroes are also an image of innocence that young people respond to. There's a similarity there. Just as the smiley badge gets bloodied up, it's a symbol of innocence that has been bloodied up. Then the same is true of these innocent, simple, nostalgic kinds of superheroes and Watchmen, that their image is bloodied up. That innocence is no longer possible, unquote.
Wow.
An article by Dr. Aidan McFadden in the April 25th, 74 issue of the English magazine Scientist, entitled "If a Smile is So Important," discusses the baby studies that Moore mentioned in his interview. Gibbons comments, quote, "I similarly thought of the smiley image as being simultaneously simplified elementary cartoon image. The photorealistic blood on it was like a raw reality defacing it."
The smiley face comes from the WMCA 1960 Good Guys radio broadcaster people. Like they did the top 40 disc jockey stuff, exuberant personality. So it was a popular symbol back in the day. Simple.
Mm-hmm.
One enough to be copyrighted, and the guy who owned it went up against Walmart and made them change their logo. So
Wow.
he won. So there is still some sort of copyright on it.
Are we allowed to give away spoilers in this?
Yes.
I think at this point everybody has, or at least should have, read the work. Yeah.
If you
Because
haven't read it, hard luck.
Yeah, because I'm going to say that I think we only find out later that arguably the most interesting character, Rorschach, is actually in the third panel or the second panel.
He's
on
in
the
the
page.
third panel. Well, his feet.
Yeah. But we don't realize who he is until much later, do we? But it's just, I just think it's great. It's if we count the cover as the first panel, it's great. It's great. A great, what's the word? Device. Great device to have him right at the beginning, and we don't know who he is.
He's just walking by.
But there's loads of that in this. Just
and you see the
well
eye
written.
here. It's not completely filled in. There is a lot of cross hatching here. There's a nice sheen there, and what I consider to be like Mobius feathering here on the wall. Very much Mobius right there.
What were you saying, Russ?
I can't
Go ahead,
remember.
Russ.
Right.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. I just think it's great. I think it's just a genius introduction. This page, pulling back from the blood to the guy, and I like this sort of ironic text as well. That's quite a drop, and the way this juxtaposition, horrible word that they do with it, it's really clever.
Mm-hmm.
What do they do we'll see when he's throwing him through the window when he says ground floor coming up or something, it says, but it's not referring to the act, it's something else.
And in the actual book, you can see how stark the yellow button is on the blood with the sidewalk. It's a dark purple there. Also kind of heralding the dark purple age of comics. Where everything is in Photoshop is just comes out so oppressively colored.
I think that's because of the paper more than anything.
Yeah. Well,
what gets me is the force, I guess, the perspective or whatever it's called. The drop there, or the looking down. You do get a slight sense of vertigo. I mean, it's just excellent.
Yeah, it is. It says the image is attributed to a graphic artist named Harvey Ross Ball. March 13, 2013, Smithsonian.com article, Who Really Invented the Smiley Face? By Jim Smith. The ensuing popularity of the smiley image encouraged subsequent claims of trademark ownership to the image, which not surprisingly spawned numerous trademark battles. An innovation on this panel, we're talking about panel 1 here, is the appearance of a narration that is not a thought balloon or spoken dialogue in a balloon caption. Rather, it is an entry from what we will later learn is the fictional journal of the vigilante Rorschach. This is the first instance of what may be called, quote, simultaneous narrative, unquote, an ongoing description that is not spoken by anyone depicted in the panel, but instead accompanies the story like a counterpoint melody on a fugue. Moore and Gibbons use this device frequently throughout the series, often to convey irony or subtle information about the actual images in the panel. The device, regardless of whether it is original to Moore or Gibbons, is used in Watchmen more forcefully and regularly than ever before in comics, and is in a way comparable to a documentary track playing over a film. or annotations added to a beloved text. I think there was I think Eisner had done a spirit story, at least one, that had that kind of narration, and I'm sure there have been others out there before that. But it is an interesting device. October 12th, 1985 was a Saturday, and the killing that resulted in the red puddle in the street must have occurred either late Friday night or early Saturday morning. We'll see later that this journal entry is likely taken from Rorschach's notes made in the course of his investigation, which he later reworked and finished into finished journal entries. Panel 3, the Indus Nye man needlessly walks through the pool of blood and water on the sidewalk. And although it is difficult to make out the details in the succeeding panel, Moore's script makes it clear that the delicatessen worker also is cleaning the sidewalk, gestures at him in with an upraised middle finger. So right there, he kind of tells him off. He's kind of surprised there. Never noticed that before. Panel 6. This is an example of the series trademark ironic simultaneous narrative. Rorschach comments on the humanity standing on the brink, staring down, just as the police detective does exactly that.
Got a question there in the comments from Brian.
Sorry, comments. I've been ignoring you. Okay, let me swap out my glasses here. Wherever they ran off to.
So Brian's saying that this is cool. Is it the omnibus?
Brian. Hey, Brian. Thanks for joining us. No, this is actually the Watchmen annotated. That I picked up a copy, believe it or not. It's sad to say. I don't have the tag here. It was on it was wrapped in plastic when I bought it, but I paid $13 for it at Ollie's.
$13. You're making me cry again.
Oh no!
Oh no!
As soon as I saw it, I said, "Mine."
Yeah.
Mine.
Bloody hell.
Mine.
What's
Marvy,
that?
have a great day, everyone.
10 quid.
See you soon. Yeah.
10 quid. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Hello,
Bloody
Russ. Genuine Comics.
It's like
Hi,
$1,000
Dave,
Canadian.
Black Belt.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is cooler. Is it the omnibus? First comment dance. Yeah. Oh, okay, cool. I've never seen that before. No, I hadn't seen it either, but I knew I didn't have it. So I saw it was $13. I figured it didn't matter what was in it. Oh my God, I need to go grab that. Yeah, I got the last one at our local Ollie's. I don't know. They might have another one. I picked up the Killing Joke hardcover for $15. Yeah.
Damn, that's good deals.
Yep. Ollie's, good stuff cheap. That's their motto. But yeah, as soon as I opened it up, I went, "Oh, this is what Russ was talking about, the black and white version of the book." Just amazing the detail here. Any comments from anyone? I know we want to zoom into that panel right there. Is everything.
I think I think what struck me most about the film, if we can talk about the film for a sec, and I know that Alan Moore didn't like it. I felt whatever you thoughts on it, and I know that they can't do everything, like they couldn't do the squid monster and all the rest of it. Visually, there was so many aspects that they'd obviously respected the artwork.
Yeah.
They'd obviously respected the way that the panels moved from one to the other. in the way that the film was developed.
Yeah.
I think it's a
Seriously.
tribute to Zack Snyder's respect for the work.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, and you got to
know?
wonder to yourself, why on earth did he manage to screw up DC in the way that he did when he'd
Yeah.
done so much good to this?
Well, I wish he
I
hadn't.
think personally, I think it's because he tried to overdo it. Also,
Yeah.
he was probably pushed to do too much too quickly.
Yeah.
They didn't give him a chance to build up in the way that Marvel did, because they were executives running after each other.
Very likely. Yeah.
Whereas this one, it was a one-off, and he was given the ability to just make it.
But
And it was. I really liked it. I really.
yeah,
enjoyed
I
it.
thought it was brilliant. It's one of the best films I've seen.
I think it's probably one of the best superhero movies there is. Yeah.
I think what he did, the director, what he did was, what he had or has is a deep understanding of the comic as well. Maybe he didn't have such an understanding with the other stuff that he's done. I don't know, but I thought it was great. It was a shame that the Black Freighter wasn't in it.
Yeah,
but
you can't get everything in.
It's a small miracle he got the amount of information in it
that he did
off of the books.
Yeah.
In the short period that the film's only 3 hours long.
Well, I think it's fantastic the beginning as well, when they're playing the Bob Dylan song and it's going through the back history.
That is quite possibly, I think, the best, because it's easy to say, oh, these are one of the best. It is one of the best superhero films ever. But that introduction, that credit scene, is the best credit scene ever. Just if nothing else, because of the music, it's just absolutely, it captures the tone and it makes you think. It's like just watching the credit scene makes you think, let alone watching the whole film or reading the book or whatever. It's a fabulous credit scene.
Well, it's a lot of information there he had to get in real quick. That was incidental.
Absolute genius. Really, really good.
But added so much to the story, the background of the heroes and that.
Brian Jermaine saying, I've always said Zach does intros better than he does whole movies.
Brian, if you're up this early and your podcast's ready, I can send you a link if you want to join in the conversation. You're more than welcome to come in.
Join us.
We're just here talking about what we love and why it works the way that it does. Swapping the glasses out again. That's the annotation.
I'm scribbling while we're talking.
I'm basically doing the same thing with 3D art.
Panel 7, they want to point out here we see the smiley face button as it comes loose and drops onto the gutter below. A lot of little details. There's a lot of annotations about panel 6. It says, note the odd pipe in the mouth of the man asking about the detectives.
Yeah.
Oh, I got a destination. I think I got to get closer to that. That is so small.
Well, no, if he's got a pipe, he must be intelligent.
This is the ball pipe. Yeah.
Yeah, he's Reed Richards' cousin.
We know this from the other Comics by Night episodes that we've done so far. That anyone with a pipe.
Yeah.
And he's the lift operator. Must be a really clever one. He went to Oxford, but didn't want to make rockets that go to Mars.
And he chose a simpler life.
Yeah, she had enough of it. He wanted to wear a crazy hat.
Yeah. Moore describes in his script as a water-cooled cigarette holder, prevalent throughout the Watchmen world.
Yeah.
Although this one appears to have a smiley face on its bowl, an artistic flourish. They ask. The man is seen waiting for the elevator in panel 4 is apparently another resident on the floor on which Blake lived. Moore calls him Wilbur in the script and describes him as coming from Indiana and occasionally suffering gas pains in the night. or is carrying some sort of pouch, and although he is not young, he's wearing headphones, suggesting a portable music player. The Sony Walkman, an immensely popular portable audio cassette player, first appeared in our world in 1978. Gibbons comments, the ubiquity of headphones worn in public was something that I thought would add an otherworldly feel to things. Later, of course, on our world, it was full of them.
Something that's hidden in there is this whole concept of giving people a life.
Yeah.
Giving people so even incidental characters, you invent a very quick small as an artist, you invent a very small quick backstory to them, and it gives them more life when you're drawing them, because you might put a different expression on their face, you might make them stand a slightly different way, give them a different weight. And so, for instance, when you're drawing multiple characters, especially when they're background characters, it's the way to make it more we use this word believable. It's comic books aren't believable, they're about taking the mind for a ride. But of course, the more you can the more that you can hook the mind in to be satisfied that things are natural around it, then the deeper you can get involved in the ride. So inconsequential background characters that stand a certain way, feel a certain way, it helps, and then things don't feel like cardboard cutouts.
Right.
What I like is look in the top right panel and the top or on the left page, on the bottom right panel. You got the gentleman there with the jowls and the hooked nose or the hawk nose, and hair to one side, and that's just so well done. And you don't see a lot of everything from the posture to the extra weight on him to the way that his scowl is, and you don't see a lot of that in modern art. You obviously you see the comedian, right? He's extremely well done, but even just that the other character there is just phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
Like you say, the backstory, the buttons, everything is just so much there.
Incredibly thought out. Brian, we're all here this morning looking at Watchmen. There's Glenn and Russ from Britain,
England,
and
England.
Sorry, England. We'll have to off camera. We'll have to discuss what the difference is there.
We've got Randy and whiskey.
That?
We've got Randy and whiskey from North America.
Yeah, we're here from North America.
Yeah,
we'll tell you the difference later. Whiskey, it's really easy.
All right.
Bloody colonies. You can't trust it.
Is that what it is? All right.
I think it was our conspiracy to throw that tea in the harbour so we could pull out.
England. Yeah, just so we can get rid of them.
Yeah.
Just because my ancestors are Danish, I keep throwing in the North Sea Empire.
I'll tell you something about that later.
My ancestors are aliens, but anyway.
You see, there he is again, Rorschach at the bottom. You see, he's always in it, and we don't know it's him yet.
Yeah,
it's wonderful spot blacks.
Yeah,
just gorgeous,
fantastic.
And that on the right-hand page, the second panel, which is Rorschach's shadow, the way that the black doesn't go to the edge of the panel, just the cross hatching.
Yeah, just a bit of cross hatching.
Yeah, just little. It's like you said before about little nuances like that, little tiny things, And I had great fun looking at this artwork, because we all did. But I like, if you look on the left-hand page on the fifth panel, where they're walking through the street, there's a blimp coming from behind the building in the distance. Can you see it? Where she says, "Screw them," and what about Rorschach?
Oh yeah.
And those little blimps are everywhere. There's one on the panel there going past the moon. On the next page.
Yeah.
That technology. Yeah, that technology is like you said before, is so well thought out. This thing,
but it's out of place.
Yeah.
It's great. It's really weird.
Yeah.
On this world, they never had the Hindenburg disaster,
Right. Yeah, so that's true.
so they kept using Zeppelins.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know much about this because I'll be honest, I've kind of stopped reading modern comics. When they brought the Watchmen back into the DC universe recently, was that whole thing an Elseworld situation, or did they put them in the main world?
I think they put them in the main world, but I don't follow it either.
I don't get that. I don't know. No.
This is, I think, anything beyond this, these 12 issues is just another,
cash grab.
another sad universe.
I've never even picked them up.
Yeah.
No. I was just wondering.
I've got a couple of the Darwin Cook episode or issues, but I don't think I've ever sat and read them.
I mean, I'm fibbing when I say I don't read modern comics. I have a few, but it's very select, and I don't go out buying the range that I used to buy. I think in recent years I probably picked up Immortal Hulk. I've got some Venom stuff as well.
Yeah.
But there's probably another couple of things as well, but very few and far between. Most of the time, I'm picking up back copies and trades of older material.
For myself as well, it's been a number of years since I've actually picked up a comic because of all the nonsense they have with the modern era.
So
I pick up a lot of indie titles now. Much more indie titles now than I used to. Back when I was buying comics every week. Yeah.
Just before you turn over, Andy, if you look at that left-hand page, the second panel where the comedian's falling, and then we get the third panel where they're talking, then he's falling again on the next panel, and he keeps falling. That's a really good demonstration of Will Eisner's how to make time work, isn't it? In the sequential art book, he has that tap, doesn't he? In the foreground, dripping tap, and you can see that guy coming. That's a brilliant example by Dave Gibbons, because it's a long way down there, isn't it?
Yeah, and the fact that he's used the same image over two panels, but broken it up with the next sequential image to the right.
Yeah,
that's genius stuff there.
Yeah, and then and on the last two panels, we've got them talking about Rorschach, and he's in the panel, and then he says it must, just a shiver, it must be getting cold.
He's walking past them,
and he's there.
Yeah,
and then another great little thing is, he's got the end is nigh on his board. Well, he's checking his watch because the end is nigh. He's checking his watch. Oh, we've only got 2.5 seconds to go. Yeah.
I just spotted over on the last panel on the right hand page the weight of Rorschach as he's going up the wall. Just stunning.
Yeah.
Before we get there, in the notes, they note that the kid here is reading a copy of Tales of the Black Freighter.
Yeah. All the elements have been introduced, haven't they, in the first 3 or 4 pages?
The work is that thought out,
but we don't know yet.
Yeah,
we don't know yet. It's brilliant. And like you said, Russ, about the spot in the blacks where it's Randy, where he's falling, where the comedian's falling against the blacks all the time, so we can see him because he'd be lost.
See him. Yeah, look at the way it's shadowed there, so that he pops out.
Yeah. Brilliant. Sorry, Randy.
Almost in the composition here, the shadow going right down to Rorschach's face.
Yeah, framing him, aren't they?
Yeah,
he's showing you. It's just genius.
On this last panel on page 5 here, this is more Ask Gibbons in the script. I don't know if this is possible, but is there a way to make a guy climbing the face of the building using a line less superhero-y? I don't want an Adam West and Burt Ward problem here.
Yeah.
Is there a way to distribute his weight so that he looks like he's really having to work hard to climb the sheer building? Thus, Gibbons' depiction shows some real effort being made by Rorschach.
Which sort of lends to the sense of urgency that Rorschach is kind of going through, right? Like like he's throwing out a grappling hook, he's climbing a building to quickly solve solve as quickly as he can, right? From the reader's perspective.
Yeah.
It's great the way he finds the badge, isn't it, as well? Where the guy's been washing the blood away all day and he's missed the badge.
Yep.
Great storytelling there with that hook and line. Pulls it out, bang, loops over, just absolutely superb.
Again, that Eisner sequential art, tick, 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 tick.
Yeah, no requirement for text.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Alan Moore wouldn't get paid for that, would he?
Days
gone by.
even though that page is probably 10 pages in the script.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder how much the original artwork cost. How much like the page he was paid out for it.
I don't know. I can't say I've ever seen an original page of Watchmen floating around.
Yeah, no, I mean how much he was paid for to do the work.
Yeah.
Like the page rate at the time.
I bet he got a normal page rate.
I'm sure he did.
Yeah,
I'm sure
whatever it was back then.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 40 years ago, isn't it, nearly?
And it wasn't that much, even by today's standards.
No, it was probably like $300 for
if he was lucky
for pencil and ink.
Yeah,
and letters.
Yep.
Yeah, you might have got an extra $50 for the letters.
Yeah. Still adds up.
In fact, no, back then it would have been like $10 a page, wouldn't it?
Yeah, probably closer to 15 or 20 for lettering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
professional rates.
Professional rates.
I mean, back during this period, I was freelancing for 10 to 15 a page lettering.
What lettering?
So
what could was it 86, right? So what could you buy for like $10 back then?
A house.
Not quite. That was a record album back then was about $10.
Yeah, $10 for a CD. That was before CDs, wasn't it?
Slightly,
CDs were
yeah.
You could buy
CDs were just about coming out, weren't they? Mid-80s.
8-track tapes.
Back then. You could get a four-person family, fish and chips, a bottle of pop.
Oh yeah.
I would say still have change for the weekend. Oh, sorry.
How much was a beer back then at 86?
Probably $1 at most at a bar. Yeah, probably less than that when you buy it from the store. Anymore, you get cans of Bud Light for less than that.
I was going to say they're going to start giving that stuff away, aren't they? Oh my god,
that's a whole nother story. They're showing if you get it from DoorDash, they'll charge you $30, but if you run into one of these discount clubs, you can get it for half of that. Anymore, $15 for 18 cans. Watchmen, an issue of Watchmen was $1.50 back then.
Right.
$1.50, $1.50.
That
and again, we come up with another
perspective.
2 pages of no dialogue except for
it's just quiet, isn't it?
Yeah,
quiet.
It's like death in there.
It's brilliant.
But the succession of panels here where he's testing the closet and he takes a hanger and unfolds it and tests the inside and outside, realizes that it's deeper than it should be, finds the button, opens the door. Just another amazing sequence of panels here.
You even got the art on the first panel on the left there, like I guess that's a poster of some kind.
Yeah.
Yes.
They took the time for. You don't needlessly put it there. You didn't have to, but
I was going to say, what is on that drawing, on the poster? Because I reckon that's relevant.
Oh,
to the story.
there is a large block here explaining the first panel. So, and it says continued on next page, and all of that. This entire column here is a description of this first panel.
Is that Alan Moore's description?
No, it's whoever was making the annotations here.
Right. Okay.
The story title from the song "Desolation Alley," Bob Dylan, the lyrics of which are quoted more fully at the end of the issue.
Yeah.
At midnight, all the agents. Herman Rorschach, 1884 to 1922, developed the ink blot tests that bear his name as a diagnostic tool for schizophrenia. But he didn't live to see the widespread adoption of his test after its publication in 1921. Use of the test in broader context has been criticized by many psychologists, some regard as pseudoscience. The Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory is widely preferred over the ink blots for diagnostic purposes. Details of the test will be discussed further below. So they get into all of his ink blots too, as well.
Yeah. Just look at the way on that left-hand page under the title, the last panel, the way he's set the torch there, the torch in the shadow to illuminate. That's just fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Just amazing.
What a brilliant device, you know.
Same thing here.
Yeah.
Use it as a light source.
Yeah, it's just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
The peg borders in panel 3, the peg borders of Rorschach's word balloons reflect his the distortion of his voice caused by his mask.
What I like a lot about the artwork here is the folds of the clothing, the way that it flows over the body and the different like positions and stuff, and
yeah,
it is just exquisitely done. One of the hardest things to do in like, because I'm a 3D artist, one of the hardest things to do in 3D art is is folds of clothing and getting it correct, because with drawing, for some reason with 3D art, it's just one extra step removed from like the human touch or whatever, the perception of it, and it is extremely difficult. And to see it, somebody do it, you know, with by hand in a 2D style and get it so accurately portrayed is you know, it's awe-inspiring in a sense.
Yeah, on the second page there, on the second panel where he's pressing against the wall with the hangers, I see what you mean about the folds, that you can see the weight, the one above, the panel above, panel 2.
Oh, here.
You can see the weight of his coat, and then the stretch of it in the next panel. That's just fantastic, I think, the weight that he shows with that. It's wonderful.
So with 3D art, we have to use physics-based programs to help emulate those things like the weight and stuff like that, because it is, I don't know, I don't understand why, but like a lot of artists in the 3D world, they can't seem to grasp it quite accurately. It looks a little, every time somebody attempts it, it just looks a little off, unless you're using like a physics-based kind of thing. But like with the 2D art or, you know, sculptures and things like that, like people just have a better perception of doing it. So yeah, paying attention to stuff like this quite often.
Mm-hmm.
We're colonizers. All of our ancestors are technically aliens. LOL. Yeah. This is a meal at McDonald's for 3 or 4 people. It's $10. In 86, you can get a 6-pack for $5. And I just love how it was one of the issues that took amazing control of spotting blacks in the high contrast inks. Yeah. That's why it's so much fun to look at this work in black and white. Another nearly silent page. Again, just fantastic. Takes the costume out, lays it on the floor. In order to realize who it was. And then the sequence here from the costume to the picture on the wall of the comedian.
Yeah. It's just fantastic, isn't it?
It is.
So it just goes back 40 years, doesn't it? And back to the war and everything.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Again, you see definitely more of the skill in the artist of the clothing folds, the costume, all of it. It's just
Yep.
Yeah.
the
look of
costume
surprise.
on the floor. You know, impressive.
It's great.
Panel 7 here, we see the a group of the original group of costumed adventurers known as the Minutemen, who are discussed in detail in Hollis Mason's autobiography, Under the Hood. From left to right are Silhouette, Mothman, Dollar Bill, Night Owl, and the comedian kneeling, and Captain Metropolis cut off. The adventurers will be discussed in more detail in appropriate places below. Moore describes the photograph in his script as follows, quote, "The original Silk Spectre stands with her arm linked seductively through that of Hooded Justice, who is ignoring her. The original Night Owl stands smiling good-naturedly with his hands resting on his hips, while to either side of him stand Dollar Bill, looking good-natured and smiling oafishly, revealing his pronounced front teeth, while on Night Owl's other side stands the Howard Hunter-like Captain Metropolis, looking serious and dignified and slightly pompous. We can see Mothman, who looks nervous and uncomfortable, perhaps spoiling his picture by reaching up to scratch his nose at the wrong moment. You can see the silhouette standing on one side, gazing off the side of the picture, looking pale and unhappy, her thin white hands folded across her small breasts. At the front of the picture crouches a 16-year-old boy in a domino mask and a yellow costume. He smiles at us boyishly, but there's something cruel about him, something feral. All for that panel.
I love the way the boots are on panel 5. The comedian's boots are sort of standing up, that because you've seen boots standing like that on their own. Just great the way they folded over. That one, yeah. The way he's just done he's obvious. I think his wife's got boots like that, Dave Gibbons, and he's drawn. The way they lean over.
Right.
There's just so much there to digest.
Yeah,
there is.
This is why we're quiet, because we're looking at it, aren't we?
Yeah.
But I think all the clues are there, like on the next page on panel 4 with the statuette thing, and it's all going to be introduced.
Yeah, all of this detail.
Or identified later. It's being introduced now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a work of genius, I suppose.
It's art.
Maybe it'll be yeah, it's art, art. It's fabulous.
But its entire first issue, though, it's really the exposition for the rest of the story is very self-contained. I remember being really impressed by it when I was reading it. The way that it ends, it just kind of encapsulates everything that happened in the book or in the story up to that point. And again, Dan, right? Hollis, not Hollis. What's his name?
Dryberg, isn't it?
Yeah. Walking home in to his apartment, bumping into Rorschach.
Eating beans, human beans.
Beans, yeah.
He's like my brother. My brother eats beans out of a tin like that.
My sister does that.
I know we've all done it, but he continues to do it, and he's 70.
No, it's wrong.
You do it when you're 15, not when you're 70.
I can't eat cold beans anymore. It's wrong.
No.
Yeah.
No. I can eat cold rice out of a can, though.
You folks probably know more about Rorschach's history than I do, but is Rorschach a veteran at all?
I don't think he
I,
is.
No.
I don't think he served. No,
No, I think
he was in the military at all.
Yeah, he came from an abusive childhood, didn't he?
He's a bit
Yeah.
crazy, isn't he? I don't
He's a
think
bit
they'll let
off
him
his
in.
trolley. Yeah,
He was incredibly traumatized as a youth, I believe.
yeah.
Yeah,
We'll get into that in the later issues.
the irony is that he was too crazy. They thought he might kill someone, so they won't let him in the military.
Yeah.
You got it all wrong. I'm not in here with you. You're all stuck in here with me.
Oh, that's scary, isn't it? That's
Exactly.
scary.
What a line.
We'll get to that later, won't we?
There's the button on the table.
Yeah.
Out of prison so far. Take a look at this.
Human being juice.
How have you been keeping out of prison so far? Take a look at this.
Yeah.
What is it? It's a little stain. Is that bean juice or? That's right, human bean juice. Haha. Badge belonged to the comedian. Blood too. He's dead. Pours out the sugar.
Yeah.
Ted, what are you talking about? The comedian? Investigated a routine homicide. Victim named Edward Blake found the costume in Blake's wardrobe. Seems he was the comedian. Somebody threw him out a window.
This page is what Russ was talking about a few weeks ago, and it's also covered in the Eisner book, I believe, about how to make a mundane scene interesting, and attractive, and make you want to indulge yourself for 5 minutes and just concentrate on what's in it, and all the camera angles and all the spotting of the blacks and all the placing of the lettering, and it's just all brilliant.
It's
just
what
brilliant.
It's what separates good sequential artists.
Yeah.
I mean that from a very respectful perspective of everyone's learning their craft. Okay.
Mhm.
But the people at the top of their game, they are the people that will produce those kinds of sequences and that you'll marvel at and go, nothing really happened there, and yet it's an incredibly interesting page to look at.
Yeah.
Talking heads, okay, once in a while are acceptable. Every book, not acceptable. It's just boring. It is dull, and also it's cheating. And I mean that I don't mean that in a very sort of rule-based way. I mean it's like it's lazy. It's just, you don't do that because it's dull. That's not what. It's not what sequential art is about. Sequential art is not a poor person's version of cinema.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's sequential art. Okay,
Yeah.
Respect the art, and Talking Heads used too often does not respect the art. But the ability to maneuver your camera, maneuver your point of view, and to be able to draw a scene and the anatomy and figure drawing of the things that are living within that scene and make it interesting in every panel. That's the art, and this is a perfect example of it.
It's definitely a far cry from the like a lot of the lazy artwork we see today in comics, where you see like a wall of text and it's just, you know, heavily political and heavily like, you know, just nonsense and crap art and you know, they're trying to say so much and in it, but they don't say anything at all. Where here they're not trying to say anything at all and they say so much.
Show don't tell.
Yeah. Exactly.
And another indication of Dave Gibbons' superior art, let's call it that, is the way that none of the poses in these 2 pages, chests sticking out like they do now, and you know, and the characters within the panels are together. Whereas you see a lot of drawings now where it's obvious that this will sound crazy, but I hope you know what I mean. The characters are drawn separately; they're not together in their little panel. Mm-hmm. You understand what I mean? They are together, but they're not in the same space because they've been drawn as these superheroes with, you know, 6-packs and whatever. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
And this guy, Dave Gibbons, is when he draws the panel, he's drawing the panel. He's not drawing individuals in a panel. Even,
Right.
Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah. You see the close up here of Rorschach's face, the close up of the badge,
Yeah.
or the button there, all adding to the detail, adding to the story. Nothing here is incidental or wasted.
And on the
even
panel,
here, how he shows the loneliness
yeah,
of Daniel here walking through a dark hallway and into his lit,
and also
of his lit apartment,
and also a bit of fear in his, because he's look at his fists are clenched. He's heading. He's thinking, "I'm going to have a fight." He doesn't want to fight. He doesn't know what's beyond that door, and that's why he's so scared when he looks in on the left-hand panel.
Yeah.
But if you look on the other page, where the owl machine thing is under the blanket, the way the eye is looking at them.
Right.
I know it's not, but it looks like there's something under there that's looking at them, watching them.
Yeah.
Because he could have just put that drape over the top of it, couldn't he? And you wouldn't have known what it was, till he pulls it off.
Yeah.
I think it's great the way he draws him. Just a little bit out of shape, isn't he? A little bit chubby. And he mentions that, doesn't he, Rorschach?
Yeah, intentional. Yeah.
And
it's a perfect example of being able to draw.
Yes, exactly.
Not everybody is like a bristling muscular superhero. And I think that's some of the elements that sort of came to modern comics, is this intensity of illustration. Some superb illustrators being involved. But I mean, all you need to do is look at a Conan, like a Buscema Conan, and he's obviously a muscular character. Yeah, but it's never overdrawn.
Yeah, I think the thing there, I agree totally. The thing there is that these older artists, like Steve Ditko and Kirby and Buscema and Dave Gibbons, because he's 70 now.
Yeah,
they're basically drawing real people.
Yeah,
the modern comics seem to be drawing superheroes.
Yes,
and like I've said in the past, when I used to read Spider-Man way a long time ago in mid-60s, I was reading about Peter Parker, not about Spider-Man.
Yeah,
right.
And that's what these guys are. These guys are not the Night Owl. He's Dryberg. He's a person.
Yeah,
who happens to be that one. Like I've said before again. Now, Spider-Man is whoever pulls the costume on, which is ridiculous to me. Spider-Man, the Spider-Man comics that I love from the Ditko times were about Peter Parker, who happened to be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But that center section now on this page, where we get a really cinematic view of what Rorschach's mask does. Yeah, because we see that in the film, don't we? And the way we said just previously about making it interesting, the way that it's the same Rorschach, effectively, his mask is moving, and then we see Dryberg just turn and glance at him, and then he's stunned with what he says. It's just the whole thing. It's just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So what I never quite understood was that although Rorschach is supposedly, and along with the annotation earlier about him climbing up the wall, is that he's not superpowered in any way.
That's right.
But
he's a real person.
Yeah, but what's the mask? How does that work?
The mask is made out of special material that has ink blots moving on it.
Yeah,
that is apparently tied into his psychosis.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So where's how does that work? Is that a techno thing? Is that magic? What how does that work?
I would say it's a techno thing. There's no magic in.
But nobody ever explained it.
No, never did.
So what I mean is, like, you have this situation where you're looking at these people in this way, in this very dry sort of, they're just people with costumes on rather than superheroes. And yet there's something quite odd going on.
They're extraordinary to our Earth. Yeah.
I think it's great that they don't explain how it works.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's part of the charm of comics is that black box. Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it at all. I was just
Yes.
making a point,
Yeah.
you know, that
Yeah,
we're,
got you, yeah.
we're talking about them being these ordinary people in, you know, just in costumes, and then you look at something like that and you think, well, how does that work?
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't
No.
matter.
No,
It's just
it
like
just does. Yeah.
it just adds to the charm of the piece.
I'll tell you something else about those 3 panels as well. If you look closely, well, not too closely, they're all drawn separately. He hasn't just traced the same, because the hat's different. The hat's
Yeah.
wider on the final,
Lines
on
are
the
different.
third panel.
Yep.
So he's actually drawn them again rather than traced them from the first one.
Yeah.
And I think that lends to the fact that he's moving.
Or at least altered it enough to make it give that appearance. It's slightly larger here. He's
Yeah.
walking
Yeah, it
away
does look
from-
like he's stepping, right?
Yeah.
Taking
Yeah.
a couple steps. But I just had a bit of a surreal moment. I was over at the other side of my room, the kitchen, essentially, because my computer's in the kitchen. I was making a sandwich to get through the long haul here, you know, for breakfast time. And I'm looking at the two screens on my computer, right? They're two side by side. I have a large monitor and a slightly smaller monitor, one higher resolution than the other. One for, you know, videos and stuff like that, and one for art. And on the left monitor, I have a black and white, what they call a wallpaper engine, which is like a moving wallpapers and stuff like that. And what I have set up is this sort of like audio thing where, like, if somebody's audio comes in, this, you know, ball goes up and down and it responds to the audio. So I'm looking at the panel from across the room, and then the what's it called, the wallpaper engine, and I had it set to black and white, or like a gray tone, because I found the colors a bit jarring, because you can adjust the colors and stuff. So I'm looking at the modern black and white version thing going on, and the audio, and then I'm looking at the panels all like stark black and white, and the silhouettes, and the two technologies kind of, you know, making a sandwich, and I'm like, wow, that hits pretty hard.
Yeah. Also, I'm looking in the watching the Watchmen book. We have a great couple of pages here that tie into the page that we're looking at.
So that occurs to me for folks, if you know, out there in the world that are getting their comics out there, and wallpaper engine, you know, there's a market there somewhere, obviously.
Yeah.
We see the rough here next to the color notation.
Yeah. Dave Gibbons reveals in this book how he works, and because there's lots of pages of his layouts, and he draws the layouts roughly small, puts in the blacks, and then he blows them up and traces them onto the art board.
Yeah.
So he draws the whole thing out roughly first, and then he just blows it up, and he's already worked it out. It's just
I'd say that's what I used to do before I roughed everything out on computer.
Yeah.
I'd do a thumbnail about postcard size,
right,
and then I'd photocopy the whole lot up to the A3.
Yeah.
And then I'd lay it down and do the pencils over the top. Just so that but effectively what's happening is if you do thumbnails, if they're working for you, if the thumbnails, because they don't work for everyone, if the thumbnails are working for you, you kind of get proportions right. It's like proportions on a page. So I'll often be, you know, when I lay out stuff, it's quite high up. So I'm kind of laying out even down to things like faces and what have you. Mm-hmm. You kind of just roughly laying things out, and you kind of get proportions correct. If you're zoomed in too close, sometimes you can get the proportions wrong for the whole of the page.
Yeah.
So that's the benefit of doing it that way.
I do roughs, but I don't blow them up.
Right.
I just copy them. So, but I'll do the working out in thumbnails, of course. But
it on a computer, when you penciling on a computer, it effectively means I don't have to do any of that photocopying, printing, putting it on a light box, all that kind of stuff. It's just layers.
Yeah,
and you can just mess about and do what you want, and then once I finish penciling, you can pump it out to ink.
I couldn't trace them on them anyway because I use artboard. So
Oh right, okay. No, I've
Oh
always
yeah,
used
yeah.
paper.
Not gonna get a light table through that.
No.
Not through
Get
Illinois.
nice effects though when you finished it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just me over here with the 3D art, you know.
Yeah.
Saw that earlier. A little bit more
Different
detailed
strokes.
background.
Whiskey. Different strokes.
I do love comics though, and when I got into 3D art originally, it was to become an actual comic book artist, because at the time Marvel was hiring people who had the both skill sets, both 3D art and I was watching a video about what it takes to get into Marvel. This is long before they went stupid, and
Good choice of words there.
Yeah.
so, but I got into 3D art and then to draw comics, and then I kind of stayed there and sort of never went back. But the more I'm been getting into comics more recently through Luke Stone Studios, or you guys probably know Luke,
Oh yeah.
from my comic and stuff like that. So I've been thinking about when I finish my current project to jump back into maybe do my own comic or two. Finally achieving that
Right.
dream.
Good.
Yeah, do it. Yeah, there's only one way of doing it. That's doing it.
Just do
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm scrolling through the chat again. Sorry, Brian's talkative.
Brian made a great point about
Glenn, I think, is who I recognized.
yeah. Brian made a great point about talking heads being boring, but too many action sequences can be over the top as well.
Yeah.
And the whole point of us looking at the people that we do look at, the artists and the writers that we do look at in this series, is that they know how to balance everything. They know how to balance the action to the quiet times, and to make everything interesting to look at. That's your challenge when you're doing sequential art. And it doesn't matter how you do that sequential art. Doesn't matter whether you use 3D. Doesn't matter whether you use a pen. Doesn't matter whether you use pencil. Use collage. You can use finger painting for all I care. It has to be interesting, and it has to be story led. And that's what the people that we have on these examples like this, they're genius at what they're doing.
Yeah, they use the downtime, like these 2 pages, to build up the tension, because we know what's going to happen to this guy, but it builds up the tension where he's on the roof on his own, writing his journal, comes down, and then he goes to the bar, and they all could turn around, and they all know who he is, don't they? They all know.
They're all scared,
except for the guy at the bottom who's had a couple of pints too many, and he mouths off.
He doesn't realise what's coming. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
brilliant.
The tension of it. It's fantastic, isn't it? Even little things like in the center panel where he says, "Oh God," he's sort of whispering it, isn't he, with the big bubble around it. Oh God.
Again, it's like him doing his own lettering there as well.
Yeah.
It's really it's got everything, isn't it? It's so so focused.
What a great statement. Oh God, please don't kill anybody. And he's in the mirror. You can see him in the mirror. Oh dear.
Just a great panel right there.
Yeah.
Should scan that and post it on Facebook.
Yeah.
Please don't kill anybody.
And the notations here on the side, they note the pale horse logo on the back of the jacket. Apparently that comes into play later, though I don't remember where. That is a great panel. I've been meaning to copy that panel out of the Monster Society of Evil too, where they're shooting at Captain Marvel's head. And he goes, "That never works."
I think it's great. The bottom sequence there when he's mouthing off about changing his deodorant, and the guy says, "Shut up," and he turns and he has a drink. He has another drink while he's coming, and then, "Oh no, I got to take a leak." And the way he's standing behind him, it's just great the way he has another drink of his beer after he thinks he's been funny, and he doesn't know he's hurt him. Oh dear. Oh yeah, you can feel that finger going back, can't you? That's so. The question though, I've just broken this gentleman's little finger. Who killed Edward Blake? Ooh, yeah. And his index finger. Who killed Edward Blake? It's great.
This is brilliant.
But he's-
Oh God, man, leave him alone.
Yeah.
First visit of the evening, fruitless. Nobody knew anything. I feel slightly depressed.
Yeah.
The city is dying of
Rabies.
rabies. Is that an A? Yeah, it is an A. Of rabies. Is the best I can do to wipe random flecks of foam from its lips. Never despair, never surrender. I leave the human cockroaches to discuss their heroin and child pornography. I have business elsewhere with a better class of person. Little does he know.
Yeah. I think he does know.
Well, this
figures it out.
this guy is this environment's version of Thanos.
Yes.
He's got his own story. He's got his own. That's what the best villains are. They think they're saving the universe or saving the world, or that they have some kind of divine. They're doing right by reality in their world, and they often make the best villains. Villains that just love chaos for the sake of chaos can be fun, but they don't have any. What's the word for it? They don't have any weight to them.
It's shallow, right? It's
Yeah,
shallow.
they're quite shallow. They can be great fun to do, but they can be very shallow. Whereas Ozymandias and Thanos and the like, Doom, Doctor Doom, perfect examples of real weight in their character and the thought process behind what they do.
And with amplified narcissistic tendencies.
Of course, yeah. I mean, these guys are villains.
Mm-hmm.
They are, Dr. Evil. Groovy, baby.
Just want to say thanks, Intense Web, for listening in, for being here and being part of the chat. Brian says, his PTSD was from childhood abuse. On that same token, that talking heads can be overdone. It's very much the same with too many action sequences, quote unquote. Too much action can actually do the opposite, in my opinion, and quickly becomes a snooze fest. It essentially reflects his moods. Yeah, the Rorschach's mask. It's just never go full retard. Okay.
If you look at the second page with the panel of Ozymandias' building at the top, there's that blimp again, going past the Chrysler building there.
Right there.
Got
No,
that
that's
blimp there.
Ozymandias' headquarters.
Yeah, in the background, it's the Chrysler building, just above the dome.
Way back there.
See it?
That blimp there, weren't there a few comics that had the theme of the Hindenburg not going down? So the blimps were fairly common.
Here and there. It's kind of a device.
It's a bit of a trope, isn't it?
A lot of alternate world people use, because we would have still been using blimps today if the Hindenburg accident hadn't happened, because they were so practical and they were in full use at the time that it happened.
Yeah, they like the.
It's like the Titanic going down. The Hindenburg disaster, everybody freaked out because these big collections of hydrogen could easily spark and catch fire. So,
like nuclear power.
Yeah.
Isn't there a Superman?
Oh my god!
Like a Justice League comic, I think, or something, with the Empire State Building being used as like a loading dock.
Yeah, they did that, didn't they? That years ago.
Well, that's why I think the Empire State Building was built for that originally, to be a Zeppelin.
They were going to, they did attach a couple way back, and they had a plank, not literally. It had ropes with it, but these well-to-do people who didn't want to walk the streets were going to link up onto the top of the Empire State Building. But when they did it, they realized they'd all fall off because the wind up there and just, go crazy with it.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a loss.
So they crashed their plane into it instead, didn't they?
And again, the second panel here. What a great panel, showing the sheen of the floor here, and the main actions going on in the background. As you get an idea of the expanse
That
of
panel.
the richness, I guess, of Ozymandias' headquarters.
That panel reminds me of when Deckard goes to see Tyrell.
Yeah,
What's the word? The opulence of the office.
And how brave is he to spot the black on the reflection?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, brave,
but just such wonderful line work here.
Focused.
Great. To show the sheen of the floor, that the floor is so polished.
Some of the more graphical line work reminds me a little bit of Brian Bolland.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well, everybody was feeding off of everybody over there. So, yeah, you get a lot of that. Very much almost like a Beatles grouping. All the 2000 AD artists were always looking at what each other's were doing and trying to do their best to match it or beat it. A lot of healthy competition back then.
Sorry, just before you go, the previous page with the center panel where that guy's face, that's fantastic bald guy with a really great expression. Yeah, the guy behind him's got one of those pipes.
Yeah.
He must be really intelligent, even though he looks like a Neanderthal.
No, he's a different kind of pipe. That's not like a pork pie hat wearing pipe.
Right.
That's not a Reed Richards pipe, is it? That's
a cigarette holder, is how they describe it. Yeah.
No, it looks similar to a hashish pipe.
Yeah, but they're all the way through the book. Early on.
I think that just adds to the alternate world aspect. It's like that's what these guys, they don't smoke like people smoke here. Yeah. They all have hashish pipes, or or there's zeppelins in the air, or everyone's got headphones on. Although we all ended up with headphones on, but yeah.
They're not all staring at mother boxes. Huh?
Yes. That's great where he says, the comedian dead, but why? And he says, you were always supposed to be the world's smartest man, Veit. You tell me.
You tell me.
It looks like Rorschach's hovering, doesn't it, in midair, just below the bubble. Yeah.
So do you think he suspects at this point, or just obviously hasn't figured it?
No,
he just doesn't. He doesn't like him, but he doesn't like anybody. Rorschach doesn't. He puts up with Dan because they've traveled together. They were partners for a while.
He's doing what any investigation should do. He should look at every angle. It's no good saying, that person wouldn't do that. You've got to look into it.
He's a proper Gen Xer. He likes no one.
Plus, it's diametrically opposed. He goes into a seedy bar looking for answers, can't find them, so he goes to the exact opposite.
Yeah,
he goes to the rich tower and talks to the man who's supposed to know everything.
Yeah,
they clearly consulted or had the knowledge of some level of psychology to get the different characters and stuff built in this book, right?
I think it's a tribute to Moore's writing.
Yeah.
And, having these characters so well defined right off the gate.
So Moore obviously at some point had to have studied psychology, or at least consulted with somebody for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's just magic. He knows magic.
He does magic, doesn't he?
He does magic.
Well,
he's a magician.
Anytime you want to see the obsessiveness of Moore, go through and read From Hell.
Yeah.
And read the notations in the back, because these annotations are nothing compared to what he does in From Hell. This panel meant this and did this. This conversation had to happen because of this and this. I dug this up from an article that this and this happened. It's just the From Hell is another fascinating work, just incredibly done. But it's his obsessiveness over the Jack the Ripper case and how much research that he had done on it before he even. He was obsessive over the case to start with before he did the work. But From Hell, again, is another work very similar to this that is just so planned out and so thought out that it's just amazing work. Here we go again.
It's just the only downside about doing these podcasts is that it can be quite depressing.
Yeah.
Don't let it intimidate you. That's the thing. We look at these because we admire them, and
It's just wonderful.
Yeah, we're trying not to be intimidated, Randy, but we just can't help it.
But it's very difficult when you're presented with work like this.
We're here to inspire.
Use it as
Talk
fuel
about how
to
great it
drive
is.
you, right?
That's it.
Oh
Exactly.
yeah,
When I see something that's like clearly, blows my stuff out of the park, I just use it as a like fuel. Like I'm just like, I'm gonna, I'll be better in 5 years, and then I go ahead and become better.
yeah.
Maybe it's not possible with this, maybe it isn't, or maybe it is, but and just use that drive.
Mm-hmm. You
Keep
got to
going,
look at this
kids.
stuff. This is why this show is the best one we do, I think, because we've been doing this. How many weeks did we do Simonson? Was it 4?
I think it was
4
4
weeks.
5 if you count the alien
We
adaptation.
did 4 weeks for Steranko, didn't we?
Yeah,
Was it
and
3
4?
weeks with Steranko, yeah.
Just wonder, and we've
3
not.
weeks with Byrne. Doing
we-
L-Twin.
I'm going to say we've not touched on any of it yet. There's just so
No.
much,
Oh, no.
much stuff. We haven't done
Oh, yeah.
Ditko. We haven't done anything like that.
I did a Buscema one early on, but we're going to have to do another one.
At
Oh, we
least
will.
another one.
Absolutely.
At least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like I've got the Simonson's Judas coins sitting over here in my pile. We'll go through that once we've gone through this. And that work is just amazing. You sit there, and I was looking through it when we were doing Simonson and going, oh man, this is at least one episode just on that book, because it's unique. And again, it's a book I found at Ollie's. I didn't even know it existed. I opened it up and I went, oh, it's a Simonson. I'll buy it.
Yeah.
I love
Didn't
that.
know, had never seen it offered or saw it at any shop before, but the work is just incredible. I also have, it's something that we might go over in an episode. I've got an adaptation of Ian Rand's Anthem by Joe Staton.
Oh wow, you've got to do that.
That is just it's crazy when you think about the work and the type of work that Joe Staton does, which tends to be on the cartoony side. I mean, he did Dick Tracy for probably a good decade or so. E-Man and all this work that he did for Marvel and DC, and here's an adaptation of a Ian Rand novel. It's just incredible. It's crazy to see. Anyway, great boots. Again, spotting the blacks here.
Yeah,
just phenomenal.
Great attention to detail, because the guy's got an M16, hasn't he? One of the old style ones that in the 60s.
Right. But the laces on the boots.
Yeah. That, if you look on the panel when he's got the rifle, he's got one of those torches, flashlight things like that on like the Thrush agents have on there in the Funkel. They have
nice flashlight.
Yeah.
And I want to point out the example of show don't tell here with this panel with Ozymandias looking out the window. Everything is on his desk to show you what you need to know about that character. It's right there.
And he's twisted, isn't he?
Yeah.
You see that center one, he's twisted. And he is twisted, isn't he, as we find out.
Yeah, I mean, that's very meta, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I would like to see the script description of that panel. Let's see if they say anything about it. Yep, this entire run is on panel 4. The headlines on the edition of the New York Gazette reads, "Nuclear doomsday clock stands at 5 to 12. Warn experts." And Geneva talks. U.S. refuses to discuss Dr. Manhattan. Here.
Yeah. Do you know what I like about that newspaper so much is the way that all the lettering is hand lettered.
Yeah.
If that was done today on a computer, it would be perfect, and it wouldn't work as well. Even his, and his name thing there, Adrian Veidt, it's just everything's just, and the Rockefeller Military Research Center board, it's all hand lettered, and to me that's just fantastic.
It wouldn't be nearly as personal, and yet here we have looks like this was typeset on the computer screen.
Like everything from the fold of the newspaper as it like slightly curls up at the end to the, just you don't see that.
The
You wouldn't see
imperfectness
that
of it, because he definitely didn't use a ruler lining that newspaper. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Looks like it's all freehand, doesn't it?
Yep. Everything else is just reference. Adrian's desk set features the symbol, features the stylized head of a pharaoh. The significance of this.
Just looking at. Sorry.
Well, the significance of this item will become apparent later on. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm just looking at that. I'm looking at the actual book now, the printed book. That screen. It is hand done. It's got the lines on it. On the screen of that, where the last panel there, where he's got his back to you.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, it did. From a distance, it looked like it was typeset.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, that's why I checked it. But and there's obviously another blimp there over his shoulder. They're everywhere, those blimps. It's wonderful. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Blimp.
completely unnecessary to put them in there, but they do anyways.
Line weight. It just keeps reminding you of the otherworldliness of it. I think it's like reaching through the glass here.
I think the blimp thing, I don't know, but I get the impression that the blimp thing is like it's warning you about something. They're a bit mysterious. They're always way far away, and they're a constant. And I always looked at that as something was going to happen with a blimp. But that's just me, I don't
foreshadowing.
Yeah, I don't know. It's that's just my vision of it. This is what good work does, doesn't it? It makes you think about things. You don't have to be right or wrong or whatever. You just make as long as you think.
Yep. Hand through the door.
Interesting comment from Brian there in the comments. The blimps are who's watching the Watchmen.
Yeah.
Very true. Yeah. He also says, I think it's very interesting that he has more than one Ozymandias figure. Yeah.
Now this next page, when you turn over, that page where that fantastic drawing of Dr. Manhattan, that's in the Gibbons book, that's reproduced in the pencil, and it's absolutely superb. When I remember seeing these pages and thinking, I want to see the pencils on these, and that was the first time I ever saw the pencils on it, and it was in that book, and that page is in the book in the pencil. Don't know whether you can find it, Randy.
Give me a page number if you have it.
I'll try. It's where are we? The pages aren't numbered anyway, but it is. There it is. It's about 30 pages in, I think. He reproduces it with the printed page.
Okay.
It's about half an inch in that book. And
there's all the different Rorschachs, all the different comedians. Ozzy. All the great different Dr. Manhattan.
It's past all the thumbnails. It's absolutely brilliant. But there's the page numbers aren't on the book, so there's no way of telling you.
There's the pencils for page 3, I think it is.
It's if you go to you want to go about another 10 pages, 15 pages past that, you'll get to it.
There's the roughs to the pencils to the color notations. And that's interesting here. The purple of this suit mixed with the the character
Yeah.
really driving home the point that that's that guy.
You're getting there. Keep going.
Looking at Gibbons watching the Watchmen book.
You're nearly there now.
Fire scene
Just a couple of pages.
right there.
Excuse me.
And
Is that what you're talking about? The rough here, or there's a pencil?
Keep going. Keep
Rather
going.
in-
The next page. You see that page in pencil.
Oh, there
Look
we
at
are.
that. Look
Yeah.
at that.
Look at that.
And you can even see where he's used his good old Ames guide for his lettering on it in the book, where you can see it. That's a bit shiny, but that's pencil work. How good is that? Yeah, look, how good is that drawing? I mean, Russ talks about anatomy. Look at that.
Yeah, it's well done.
It's superb, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like everything from the shifting of the weight onto the right foot.
Yeah,
Just brilliant.
Harsh perspective as well.
yeah. But isn't it great that when you turn over, you see Rorschach and you look up? It makes you look up to this,
Yeah.
50-foot high guy,
Mhm.
I mean, I bet one of the challenges there was like, how can I draw this without revealing too much? I know we see him
Strategically
later.
placed arm right there too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fantastic, isn't it?
Well, nothing like like from Rorschach's perspective, you just be like, obviously he's used to it, but he's got to be coming into the room being like, oh.
That's a massive arse in front of me.
Yeah,
But at least there's a cock blocker.
Let me duck. Anyway, duck as you turn. It's also something you have to say that Snyder didn't hide from or
yeah,
shy from in the movie.
No, you didn't.
Is that he wasn't afraid to show you the Manhattan had gotten to a point where he didn't give a crap about clothes. Didn't feel they were necessary.
No more useful than a bodysuit, as far as he was concerned.
yeah.
And again, here you're still getting a lot of strategic coverage on
Yeah.
the nudity. There are a couple panels later on that it doesn't matter, and he's full front. But to start with, this is the attention right there. Is the fact that he's
Yeah.
large, he's blue, and he's naked.
Lovely inking as well around the power, the energy that's going on at the top there with his finger in the machinery.
Yep, beautifully done. Again. I'm not here to speculate on the moral lapses of men who died in their country's service. Moral lapses. Right? It's a moral lapse. You know, he broke her ribs. No one's choked.
Yeah, Brian's right. Brian's saying it feels like Manhattan is a representation of Michelangelo's David or Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man.
Yeah.
And again, what we were talking about earlier about drawing superheroes and what have you. The whole point is there is not an ounce of fat on this guy's body, all right? Because he's effectively a perfect structure. He's just he's without waste, as it were. So it's not about being Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's about having a body that is without waste, because he's perfectly in tune. And just the way that that's drawn is brilliant.
Yeah.
There had to be some thought into the shape of Dr. Manhattan's skull, the eyebrows, going on there, because we know that, like, clearly psychology was used in the whole thing, right? We know that the artists and the writer Moore and they had a passing understanding of psychology, at least. So there's got to be something to do with the eyebrows and the shape of Manhattan's skull. To with the connotation there is that they understood a little bit about the psychology of the shapes of people's heads and the different ways. Like, it does sort of belay an uncaringness to it, right? Like a not villainesque, but indifference. You know,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
maybe even superiority, I guess.
I love that the the way the girl's hair is falling on her shoulder on that top panel on the left-hand page.
Yeah.
There's real weight. Yeah, there's real weight to that hair. She
Yep.
must have really thick hair, you know.
Then again, it's fascinating how light the line weight is on Dr. Manhattan compared to the heaviness of Rorschach here.
Yeah.
You can see that the contrast is incredibly obvious here. Also, just works really well, and she's neutral. It's great stuff.
I think it's great the way it's all calculated, this, isn't it? I mean, it could have been ruined by being so precise in every aspect of it, but the whole thing just works.
Yeah.
It is a work of art. It is a work of genius, I think.
You really got to wonder how much time he took more. That is, once, because he pitched this as the Charlton characters originally. Yeah. How much time he took between that and I think it was Giordano was editor-in-chief at the time, telling him that the story was too good, that just change the characters around and don't use the Charlton characters, use different characters, and we'll print the story. And how much time it took him between that to come up with this. You know, because there are similarities to the Charlton pantheon here, but there's obvious differences that he went through and changed intentionally to fit the story. You know, Dr. Manhattan was supposed to be Captain Adam. Rorschach was supposed to be the Question, but instead he makes his face, he changes him from the Question and puts that Rorschach element onto his face. That just, you know, we've said it a lot with this, but it's just sheer genius, you know, that he took on to that.
But they say necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they necessitated the need
just
for
the creativity in this is you know, alone is just crazy.
Does it say anywhere how long it took them to produce the book?
I don't know, but towards the end they got notorious with blowing deadlines. I remember that. The 12th issue ended up coming out months after it was supposed to, because they kept falling behind. Nobody, everybody complained at the time, you know, but nobody, you know, I don't think there was anybody that stopped reading the book because it came out so late.
Mm-hmm. I think it says in the Gibbons book that Gibbons himself says that they were up against deadline from day one, meaning, you know, we all have a deadline, but it was the deadline was now. And he used to get these, it got to the point where I think at the time, I'm not sure about this, but I think Moore lived about 50 miles away from Dave Gibbons, and he would send scripts over in a taxi, right, to get it there fast, to get it there in an hour, you know, rather than post it or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's right. I think that's in his book.
You know, I have a theory about schedules, and that is they're much like attics. What happens is when you buy a house and you move to a bigger house, all that happens is you fill it up with more crap.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And schedules and the internet and email and all that kind of stuff. Schedules are always tight. And now, instead of it being easier because you have, you know, or in fact, effectively instant communication and ways of managing a schedule so much easier now, because distances mean nothing.
Mm-hmm.
All that happens is the schedules get tightened even further.
Yeah.
And people get lax.
Yeah.
I agree.
You know, I'm not going to mention any names specifically, but I've been under incredible pressure during my time in different circumstances and schedules where they've just been stupid, absolutely stupid. And you think, surely you could have worked this out a bit better. But there you go.
Me. Yeah, I hate schedules. Absolutely.
I think things like crowdfunding and independent books, you have to give yourself a schedule. So, for instance, I blew my last schedule because of real world work. I had other gigs come in. I also had a lot of issues, family issues, and that made me late on my second book. The book is done; it's out with people now, and keeping lines of communication open is incredibly important, and people trust you because of that. And also, they get the product in the end. But I won't be doing it the same next time. I'll be making my books and then providing, some kind of system to buy the book, because I feel like if you're going to have a schedule, you've got to stick to it.
Yeah,
And the problem with mainstream comic books is that they seem to give ridiculous schedules. They never give the artist enough time to do the work.
Yeah.
But I still think you need a deadline because you never get anything done.
Oh, you do.
I know they can be stupid, but I think you do need it.
You do need deadlines, but I think you have to be disciplined enough to meet your own deadlines.
Yeah.
Don't get other
I think it
people
depends on
involved
what
in
you're working on, obviously.
Mm.
Like
But,
if it's a one-shot, graphic novel with no, like, there's not going to be another, copy of it, and it's just one thing. You could take all the time in the world you want to get it perfect. If it's scheduled where your monthly thing, or you're gonna deal with the issues of that, of course.
Yeah. I mean, the one that we're working on now, me and Randy, has no schedule. The schedule is we have an internal schedule, so we have an idea about how long we want to take it and how quickly we want it to be put together. Okay, but nobody else knows that schedule, so there's no external pressure, and you're also not over promising and under delivering as well, which is incredibly important.
But it's like in life, everything's got two sides. If you're working with yourself, working by yourself, for yourself, that's great. But it's also can work against you because you're not having to deal with anybody else who's expecting something from you.
No, well, that's why more people at the door. That's why discipline's so important.
Yeah.
Them crazy Jehovah's Witnesses.
Look at that panel there. Sorry, look at that panel where he's walking across the fence. It's Gunga Diner there. That's where they all eat, isn't it? The Gunga Diner. That little box at the front there. Can you see it in the foreground? Yeah. That Gunga Diner is in the book. Yeah. Sorry, Whiskey. Go ahead.
Well, I was just saying with 3D art on, which is sort of, you can see the contrast between my work on my art station and stuff like that. Quite about scheduling and not. Like I have a piece I put up there, which was done for a YouTuber, and he wanted something in like 30 days, and he wanted there's like life going on around and at the same time, so getting the schedule done in 30 days and 3D art takes a long time, right, to finish compared to 2D, depending on the work, but it takes a bit longer. So he's asking for 30 days for this one piece, and then I'm using it as a reference point in my portfolio. I'm showing people, and some people are like, that's not that very good. I'm like, well, it is if you consider how short the amount of time it took me, to do all this work, right? Mm-hmm. And then you look at some of the other stuff on the portfolio, and it's without the time schedule, and you see the stark difference, between the works, right? And like what limitations can, like how they can affect art and how they don't. I know it's not like you guys haven't seen it, but for me, it's like. It's like it hits a little home with the schedule thing,
I think it's all down to home. It's all down to discipline, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Brian says to me, I look at deadlines and goals in much the same way. If you don't meet one for some reason, you can push it back, but beating yourself up about it is counterintuitive.
With the schedules, actually, that because that scheduling was so tight on that one piece in my portfolio, it actually cost me a repetitive work because I couldn't quite get the schedule done in time and went a little bit over. And I would have had a consistent gig if I had finished it in time, but it didn't work out that way, and I lost a consistent stream of revenue because something like that kind of like can stress out artists. it does discourage you to even get into a schedule, like a tight scheduling thing again.
Yep.
But a lot of it comes with experience, to be honest.
True. Yeah. I mean, like the more you do it, the quicker you get at it.
Yeah. I mean, trying to measure how long something will take is always an absolute nightmare, because, and it doesn't matter whether you're doing it, and it's like your second job, like you have another gig, or if it's something that you do all the day. Like, this is what I do. I do this every day of the week. But it's still difficult to give definitive times. You can say, okay, I can do anywhere between 1 and 3 pages of pencils a day, depending on the kind of content, depending on the kind of story, and depending on the kind of work. But it's amazing how things can change halfway through a gig, where where your client decides, oh, could we do something else with this? Could we make it work a little bit better? And you've already said, okay, these pages, I reckon I can do 2 a day. So it's going to be 10 days and you're going to have 20 pages. Okay. Or 10 working days and 20 pages. And then they go, oh, right. Okay. Well, we saw this page you did a few weeks ago and we really like that one. Can you do that now? And it's like, well, yeah, but that's going to take me, I'm not going to get 2 of those done a day. And suddenly the schedule goes tits up. And it doesn't matter how often you do this, it's replete with issues. You're always gonna at some point cock up your schedule quote, because life happens, work happens, whatever, things happen. So always try and give yourself a little bit longer. That's I go the Scotty route. It's how on earth do you do it, Scotty? So, I always tell them 6 weeks when it's only going to take me 2.
Yeah.
It is nice to be able to, like, to give an extra, grace period and be like, this is what I need. But like in the case of this, in this one, I guess, piece that I did, there was like he wouldn't accept a shorter, I said, this is how long it's going to take. And he wouldn't accept it. He's like, okay, I'll just get somebody else. But you need the money. You got
yeah.
So you try to do it. Which is unfortunate about this one piece is that the when I was 3D art works somewhat like Lego in a sense. You can build different pieces together. And during the compiling process, it generated some issues with the artifacts. So I had to go back once it was all compiled, which takes a very long time for the computer to process all the information and render it together. So it's like moving millions upon millions of polygons and joining them. And there was an issue with the resolution of it. So I had to go back and spent like a whole another couple days doing it all over again, just the compile process. And he's asking for the stuff. And he's like, where is it? Like, you said you're almost done. And I'm like, which cost me the gig in the end. And I'm like, if he just accepted the fact that it would have taken slightly longer than he wanted, and maybe planned the release of the thing for the following month, I wouldn't have lost the gig. I wouldn't have soured the relationship. The bridge wouldn't be burned there. Everything would have been smoother, but just, as you say, it is what it is, right?
I don't know the situation, but maybe he couldn't do that. Maybe he couldn't change it to give you more time. Maybe there was other aspects going on that he needed to fulfill.
It's
I
possible,
don't know. It's your story.
It's possible, but I'm always wary of people that say, "Oh, I've only got this amount." I get it a lot as well. Oh, we've only got this amount of time to do a job, and it's like, well, why? Why didn't you plan it better? Why didn't you work it out better? Why didn't you put more time into it? And often, the creative team is the team that gets the crappy end of the stick. It's like, oh, can you do this in 2 days? And it's like, what do you want? You want Michelangelo's David in 2 days? Sorry, no, that's not the way it works. I can get you a much smaller version in 2 days. Okay, there's 3 options. It's like, do you want it fast? Do you want it cheap? Or do you want it well done? Pick 2.
Right.
Because you're not going to get all 3. All right. And people don't, they just like their brain fuses up. And it's a bit of a bee in my bonnet, because it's often the creative team that end up having to pull in, do basically
Yeah.
3 a.m. in the morning
That's
to get the
right,
job
yeah.
done. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I told you before in my career in graphics, I had a guy come to me, a marketing guy, allegedly. He was a good marketing guy. He had a degree in geology. Figure that
All right.
one out.
Okay. Yeah.
So
yeah.
he knew what he was talking about. I was
Absolutely.
20 years older than him. I'd been doing my job longer than he'd been alive, and he came into the studio to me, and we had a little
Tete-a-tete.
disagreement, because listen to this, he wanted a 3-page printed leaflet, and
Right.
he just
you can
did
have
not.
4 pages and one of
Yeah.
them can be blank. That's
Well,
the way
that's
it
what
works.
I said. I showed him. I got a piece of paper and folded it. I said, "This is not me doing this. This is God. This is the way God works it out.
It's physics.
I'm just a tool." I folded it in half, and there's 4 pages. I folded it again. There was 8 pages, and he couldn't work it out, and he disagreed with me. And he went to my boss, and my boss said, "Glenn's right." And he never came in and said, "You're right." He just went, and you just think, "This is what you're up against. This is why your deadlines are so tight, because imbeciles like that don't understand."
Yeah, and they go out promising stuff to other
Yeah.
people before.
Yeah.
That's the trouble. Yeah.
Well,
Before we turn this page to the last page,
sorry.
sorry to interrupt you.
We're not into
we're
production
here-
land for a while there.
Sorry
We
about
are
that.
really pressing the 2-hour mark at this point.
Okay.
Speaking
This
about
panel,
deadlines,
1986. This panel sums up comics, the situation in comics, especially the 90s. As she says, "You remember that costume with that stupid little short skirt and the necklace or the neckline going down to the navel? God, that was so dreadful." And then Dan's walking behind her, and he goes, "God, yes,
Yeah.
dreadful."
That was all. They had that exact
terrible.
scene in the film, didn't they?
Yeah.
They had that in the film, and he acted that so it was like, oh yeah, awful.
And here
They were,
she goes.
they
"You
were
know,
they
when-
were at dinner together, weren't they? They were at dinner
Yeah.
together, and she said, "Oh,
Yeah,
do
they
you
went to
remember that
dinner.
awful costume?" And he went, "Oh yeah, it was dreadful."
Yeah, it was awful. Because you know, when I think back, why did we do it? Why did we dress up like that? The Keene Act was the best thing that ever happened to us. And he goes, "Yeah, you're probably right." And then you have this great silent panel here where
Yeah.
she's wistfully looking away and he's regretting. And
But
he's looking
look at the
down
way
at that button.
Look at the way
Just
they're doing
beautifully
that.
done.
So this is perfect because this scene is in the film,
Yeah.
okay, and it's done completely differently. Okay, it's done far more in a far more relaxed way, I think, and it's done exceptionally well. Okay,
Mhm.
and then you've got this scene in the comic as well. If you could turn the page.
I can turn the page.
Turn the page. Okay, right. No, he goes to somewhere else. But the whole point being is that you can see that you got the emotion, you got the subtlety and everything through the sequential pages in the story in the comic, as well as you got it when you're seeing it in live action. And the comic never tried to be a film.
No.
The comic was a comic. There was nobody making this comic, okay, was thinking, I'm going to get a Netflix deal.
Yeah.
Okay. None of this was like, I wonder if we can make a film out of this. They were making this as a comic, as sequential art, to be a piece of art, to be a piece of literature. Okay. And they nailed it, absolutely nailed it. And that one scene there, you can see an exceptionally well put together film and an exceptionally well put together comic, both doing the same thing in their own way.
Yeah.
And both ending up with the same excellent results.
And in the last page, we end the same way we started, with an extreme close-up shot as the camera slowly pulls off to the most important element that you want to get across for the story, and that is the comedian is dead.
And it's funny the way that he's telling him the stories, and she's laughing, really laughing, and then he says the comedian is dead.
That whole thing. Yeah, I mean that it's not quite the same in the film as it is here, but the whole point being, it's like, why don't we have any fun anymore? It's like, well, the comedian's dead.
That's what you expect.
It's so poignant, such a poignant thing, and just it brilliantly ended there and straight up shot with a perspective down.
Yeah, it's
overhead,
isn't it?
Brilliant, absolutely.
That feeling of vertigo that you had when
and you get that fantastic Bob Dylan line at the end and sums it all up.
Yeah.
You know, they go
All the
around and round up
agents.
everybody up who knows more than they do. Wow.
Crew go out and around. Yep.
And we get the
Yeah.
clock at 10 to 12, like it said on the newspaper.
So with it, have we got to do this show 12 times?
We might.
well,
we
that's
just
just
might.
for this book. That's just for this book.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's just that one episode.
And then there's a chapter from Under the Hood.
All the backstory. Yeah.
Filling in some of the backstory.
If you just go back, Randy, there's a nice little homage there, I reckon, to Jack Davis with the shoes. I know I always mention it. The next page.
Labadab.
No, not that.
Oh, no, the
Next
other one.
page. The shoes with the
Oh, look
holes
at
in.
that,
The hole in.
The
Holes
Jack
in the
Davis
shoes.
shoes, they always have holes in.
Well,
Always-
I'm sure that was a popular.
I
That
know.
was a thing back then. Nobody wanted it. These shoes were handcrafted back then, and they wore out. When they wore out, you didn't want to get rid of them, so you just
Probably
walked
couldn't
around with a
afford to
hole
get
in
rid
it.
of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks great.
I remember putting cardboard in the bottom of my shoes when I was a kid.
Yeah, I've done that.
Justice. Yep. All the way.
Have you
to the
been
back
playing
cover.
football in them shoes again?
12
No.
minutes to midnight.
Yeah.
Back cover. And
That's
that
it.
was the first issue
I
of Watchmen. I kind of thought that we would end up doing this. So if we
I
take 12,
don't know,
we
it's-
take 12.
think what's great about it is that what we do on this podcast, whatever you want to call it, on this video, is that we go through these books, but we also compare notes with
Yeah.
those people. So we talk about our own production experiences, we talk about our own techniques,
Yeah.
how the people that we're looking at, the artists that we're looking at, have affected us as well as enjoying all their art and the stories. That's what's great about this. I think about this
Yeah.
program we do.
What we do, yeah.
I think more artists, more writers need to be watching this. So that, if not to listen to us babbling on, put it on at ×2 speed and look at the art, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at what they're doing with it. Yeah.
We look at some great stuff here. We'll look at more great stuff, but next week we'll look at we'll also be looking at book 2. So
There
we'll
you go.
see how far we get.
Sounds good to me.
Well, hopefully I can make it next time, gentlemen.
Yeah, I
That would
hope
be
you
cool.
can
Yeah,
too.
hope we can,
folks,
yeah.
We've been looking through the Watchmen annotated. So plus the watching the Watchmen by Dave Gibbons. We do this because we love it. We love talking about this stuff. And if there's anything else out there you want to see us cover, feel free to drop us a comment.
Yeah, give us a list.
Give us a
We-
list.
We ain't going anywhere. We're going to be doing this for a while.
Yeah.
Well, it might be a few months. I kind of figured it was. That's why I wanted to start at the start of May. So we'll see how it goes. It might be 6 episodes. It might be 12.
We might
So,
have to
With
break
something
it up.
with something this great, it could be 12. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I guess since this is my first time on this particular podcast or this particular show, you guys can check me out at if you don't mind me shouting myself out there.
Yeah,
Give me a
yeah.
chance. We'll roll. Well, in fact, here I'll pull you up, and you can tell folks where they can find you. Whiskey.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So you can find me on excuse me. You can find me on Twitter. Right now I do commissions for figures for comic artists and like miniatures and all that stuff. It's under Bandit Ricochet on Twitter. That's the easiest way to get a hold of us. We don't have a website up yet, but all the artwork or some of the artwork is there, and I have through that there's a link to ArtStation you can check out, and it's just Bandit and Ricochet miniatures, and we do figures, we do all kinds of stuff. We can walk you through everything from production to getting your figures made, and do that. And some of the other stuff we're working on on the side is a full tabletop war game we're calling Banner, Steed, and Lance. It's a medieval, a love letter to the medieval age, but with slight fantasy elements. And so come check us out. If you need something made, this is what we do.
Sweet. I was muted there for a sec. Russ, tell folks how they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me in the pages of Hero Time Presents Batman over in UK and the Europe. I think there's a new issue coming out next week. You can also find me in the pages of Doctor Who magazine very soon. There's a new story coming up. Also, my own creation, Only Death Can Save Us. You can pick that up on Amazon, on all good book resellers, or you can go to my website, russleach.com, and there's other stuff there, like merch and all kinds of bits and pieces that you can pick up. If you want to find out more about me, you can go to russleach.com and go to all my social medias. Most important, if you go to Instagram, sign up there and follow me on Instagram, and I'll drop a piece of art every day, whether it's archived art or new art. Or you can sign up to my email list, and I can tell you about upcoming projects. Don't worry, I don't fill your inbox up with rubbish. But other than that, just come and check me out over at russleach.com.
Sweet. Glenn, tell folks how they can find you.
Yeah, on the usual social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, things like that. But coming at the end of this month is this book published by New Haven, which is details my 2 trips to meet Jack Kirby many years ago. And it's all full of pictures and everything. It's my personal journey to see the King of Comics. Also from New Haven in the summer sometime, I'm not sure exactly when, but issue 2 of Hatch, my creation cartoon character, will be available. The Jack Kirby book and this will be on from all major stores throughout the world, I'm told. So that's one to look forward to. And also you can get me on this magazine I produced called Comics Unlimited, which is a 100-page magazine about comics, artwork, articles, interviews, all that kind of thing. And there's the guy we've just been talking about. But yeah, you can get me, or you can just Google me and you can find ways to contact me if you want to.
Cool. Folks, I've been your host, Randy Zimmerman. We do this every Friday morning starting at 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You're more than welcome to join us if you are into comics, if you work in this wonderful art form that we're in and you're up this early in the morning or mid-morning, you're welcome to join us. So just contact me. You can get a hold of me on Facebook rather easily. That's probably the best way to find me. We have a little group over there where I drop the link in and all of that. And we'll keep going. Brian says I'm stream ready, by the way. So send me a link sometime and give me a heads up. All right, we'll do, Brian. Maybe we'll have you on starting next week. So if you want to have me play through that tabletop game on my Twitch stream, I'm willing. Brian has a Twitch stream where he plays video games. So I thought I recognized Russ's voice as well. Go ahead.
We're far out from
play testing.
Yeah, about a year maybe. I'd say
Gotcha.
before we get a physical copy out.
Carlos,
Carlos,
thank you for listening.
Carlos.
Thank you so much. We're going through this classic Watchmen stuff. We'll be back here next week to go through issue 2, and who knows how much farther than that. This Sunday, we do Sunday Funnies, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern time. This Sunday, we're going to talk more about some oddball superheroes, some what I call the second banana superhero. So it's a return of the second banana superhero. I found a book of the League of Regrettable Superheroes that we will go through. Some great, insane characters, just part of the fun of comics in the golden and silver age. So you don't want to miss that. Sunday Funnies.
You don't want to miss that. No.
Comics by Night and Sunday Funnies are archived over at the Indie Comics Network channel on YouTube, where you can go if this is the first time you've seen the program, and we're gaining new viewers all the time. If you like this, make sure you tell your friends too that we do this stuff, and you're welcome to join in the chat. You're welcome to come on the air if you want to come on and talk about this stuff. We welcome all input on this. So if you go over to Indie Comics Network, you'll see that we've been doing this for about, I don't know, 7-8 months now.
Yeah, must be.
I think, and there's lots and lots of episodes over there. We've covered Steranko and Byrne and Simonson, just people that we love. Alex Toth, Alex Nino last week. Just some phenomenal masters out there, and there's a lot more to come. Yeah. So, and there's such a wide range of work out there that deserves to be looked at. That we'll be doing this for quite a while.
It's an education.
Everybody learns. Everybody,
Mhm.
you can't be an artist and not be picking stuff up. So and learning with everything that you do. It's all part of being an artist. Carlos again smiles and
The
tips us a beer.
smiley face.
Smiley face.
Is it Bud Light?
Next week, 5 a.m. Friday morning, Comics by Night, Watchmen Part 2. So we'll see you then. We wish you the very best. Have a great weekend. I'll be working all weekend. I got signs and shirts, and I got to get around to that script for Russ here one of these days, real soon.
Deadline.
It's on my deadline. Yeah,
Tuesday.
Don't worry,
you'll have it.
don't
You'll
worry.
have it.
Don't worry.
Deadline Tuesday, Randy.
I'm still
Deadline.
knee deep in Doctor Who at the moment. So
There we are. All right. As we step out the door, one more comment from Brian. My Twitch stream, I do map making and D&D related stuff on one channel, my other channel for video games. LOL. Okay.
Well, yeah, like I said, Brian, find me on the Twitter there and send me a message, and we'll talk. Bandit and Ricochet Miniatures.
Cool. And folks, you can see my work if you want over at arrowcomics.store. Arrowcomics.store, where you can pick up such items as my I got a HeroBot Zero book. That's a 3-foot tall giant robot who defends a city from large monsters as long as he can do it on the clock and get time and a half for overtime. In fact, there's 2 issues of HeroBot Zero available. The second issue has a cover by somebody named Scott Rosema, who might actually
not Scott Rose.
show up one of these days. Yeah.
You know, Scott Rosema is the Scarlet Pimpernel of
They
comics.
seek him
The
here.
Scarlet
seek him
Pimpernel
there.
cover. There you go. Also do Paragon, which is a superhero story I'm especially proud of, with artwork by H.R. Harris, and Calico, which is a high fantasy adventure comic with artwork by C. Michael Lanning, who we hope is getting better all the time.
Yeah, I see.
I know
Yep.
he's home and recuperating. We wish you well, buddy. You're in our thoughts all the time. Get well soon. Come on the air when you get a chance, if you're up this early. Also, there's Revolt over there, which is an anthology book. There's this issue of Revolt's got a story by Glenn in it. It's got a story by me in it. Second issue of Revolt, it will be available, if it's not already, will be available incredibly soon. It's part of the Arrow Bundle #2. And also, I also have a campaign I'm running right now over at Fund My Comics for a comic that is near and dear to my heart called The Fool. There's a guy who dresses up in a kind of a patchwork costume and fights street crime using practical joke weapons. And anybody he ties up for the cops, he takes a section of their clothing and incorporates it into his action duds. So, and the police want to just get this crazy guy off the street. That's their whole point. The issue over there at Fund My Comics is self-contained issue, 32 pages, great story, a lot of fun, and in full color, because a character like that you have to see in full color in order to really appreciate. Let me see if I got an example of the artwork here. There we are. There's the inside front cover in the first page. That's the kind of fool he is. Fool for the city, right there. All right, we'll run a little bump for that as we go out. But in the meantime, folks, we wish you the best. Again, have a great weekend. Try to leave this industry in better shape than what you found it. And, the only way anymore that you're going to get word out about how great this art form is by word of mouth. So go out there and tell your friends. Give away comics for gifts. Go visit your retailer and take a look at some of the stuff that he's had, especially those boxes closest to the floor that he might have had for years and is willing to get rid of it at a discount, maybe if you ask him. There's some great black and white magazines out there, some great older comics out there. It's just phenomenal. So we love doing this. We love talking about it, and it's why we're here. All right, everybody. Wish you well.
See you soon.
Casvedania.
Take care.
Hey, folks.
The views and opinions expressed within the video content found on the Indie Comics Network are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Indie Comics Network or its sponsors.
The cops are doing their job as long as they don't be mean to people who are actually being innocent. Then I'm all gravy, baby.
Have a question or comment for us to address on the show? Have a topic you want us to talk about? Email us at indiecomicsnetwork@gmail.com. Want your comics to arrive in pristine condition? Head over to GeminiComicSupply.com and save 10% on your next Gemini mailer order or anything in the Gemini Comics Supply store. Use coupon code RAGIN10. That's RAGIN 10.
And who's your favorite Marvel Comics hero? Mine is Superman. Remember the motto? With great power comes great responsibility.
What was that? This is not a charade. We need total concentration. Now, once again, this time, with theory.
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Can't nobody tell me nothing.
How dare you?
Get off my lawn.
Do you draw the Flintstones naked? There's a market for that.